Hey everybody. It is so lovely to be back at the DMZ and to be amongst some, hey guys, amongst some alumni too. Entrepreneurship is such a deeply personal experience. Like, we in this room are all united by this shared dream of building something important and big and world-changing. And the journey that we're all on is a very, very unique one, but we're all unified in that shared ambition. And I think the lessons we learn along the way, actually, in my view, aren't broadly applicable. So the motivations are, but I think the lessons may not be. So first, just a little context around a little bit of background on Ada. Ada is an automation company. Our mission is to automate all dialogue between brands and people. And today we're a company that's roughly 500 people. We automate billions of interactions for some of the fastest growing companies in the world. Brands like Zoom and Square and Squarespace, they all use our technology to talk to their customers a lot more than they used to be able to. And I think the single most important thing I've learned over the course of this last journey has really been a deep inward focus on improving my own rate of learning. And I think that's one of the things that I so admire about our community here in the DMZ, is the raw commitment to learning. We're all highly curious people who are really eager to learn new things. And so I'd encourage everyone here, if you're like I was, wondering like, what the fuck do I do today with my life? How do I solve this problem in my business? I encourage you to just think like, hey, what is piquing my curiosity? What problem am I facing right now that may seem insurmountable, that I might be able to learn something new in pursuit of? The next thing that I just think is so critical is, like, we all, I think, have a responsibility as founders to support one another in our own growth. And so I just encourage everyone who making progress yourself, share it and support. We're not competing with one another. We're supporting one another, and we all win when a startup in our ecosystem succeeds. I was really obsessed with the future of internet search. It would be prudent to reimagine how Google would work. In other words, I felt that as the web had graduated from being about HTML files to being about people, I felt like the search engine should operate differently. It should be more about social search. We built this company called Volley that was all about social search. It was about helping you get answers from through your social network. It grew, at one point was growing very quickly, and we encountered this customer service problem as a result, namely that we couldn't scale our customer service operations in line with our user growth. But the unique thing about software is it's like pretty hard to get 1 million people to give you feedback on your wooden table that you've constructed. With software, you can get incredible real-time feedback that's so participatory. And so I saw our team, a small team at Volley, start to reject this feedback. It's like, why? As we're scaling, we're now focused on reducing the amount of communication we're having with our customer base. The average person in this room will spend 40 days of their life waiting on hold. That's the state of customer service today. And so I saw our team go from treating our customers, our users of Volley, as real people to treating them as numbers that we were trying to keep at bay. And I picked up the phone and I cold called as many VPs of customer experience as I could get my hands on. All of them shared the exact same thing with me. They all said, customer experience is a cost center. I believe that we should be reducing the amount of communication we're having with our customer base, not increasing it. I'm personally compensated to do that. My COO, who I report to, is going to comp me at the end of the year if I can reduce the amount of communication. And when I heard that, maybe it was like the 12th time in a row, I made the difficult decision to pivot our company into this customer service world. I just became committed to trying to solve this customer service problem. And I think uniquely for me at this time, I went back to those VPs when we made the decision to go into the customer service world. And I asked if I could join their teams as a customer service rep. I'd say that experience taught me three key things. I learned, first of all, that 30% of the inquiries that I was responding to as a customer service rep were repetitive and mundane questions. Okay, I was able to be very productive on day one in this new job, which is very unusual. Usually, I think as we all appreciate, it takes a while to ramp in a new position, to feel like you get your first win. Productive on day one. 2, I learned that the agent experience of responding to customers inside the incumbent technology that we were using the agent desktop software that we've probably all familiar with, the Salesforces and Zendesk and so on. That experience is not good. No one is waking up out of bed in the morning going, I can't wait to spend more time in Salesforce Service Cloud. And no fault to, I don't want to hate on Salesforce, they're a big company, but it's not a compelling, delightful product experience. And one of the reasons why I learned, again, being guided by the curiosity, is because the software vendor, Salesforce, doesn't have an incentive to make the software user, me and my colleagues, more productive. And the reason for that is because they have a per-seat business model, which actually incentivizes them to decrease, at least doesn't incentivize them to increase agent productivity, incentivizes them to sell more seats. And so automation and productivity was always sort of an afterthought or an add-on. It was never a core offering. And the third thing we learned is that all our colleagues, they all wanted to talk to their customers like they spoke to their friends. It felt really weird to show up at work and be forced to do this dinky live chat experience or phone call, but then at night we'd message a friend on WhatsApp or use Facebook Messenger or something. Why couldn't we use a modern messaging experience to communicate with our customers like we did at home? And the reason that was always rejected was because customer service was viewed as a cost center. The prevailing strategy was about reducing customer contact. We don't want to open the floodgates. That's antithetical to the approach. So it was on the back of it was on the back of those insights that I learned an important lesson. And that was I actually don't know if it was a lesson at the time. I made a decision that I think is now a lesson, which is that we fought the temptation to write a single line of code. And I really broke the way I think about the MVP framework, minimal viable product framework. And we literally did not write a single line of software. And we just focused manually on becoming the most productive agents we could. And the thinking was if we can do this manually and firsthand and create a lot of value, then the problem to solve eventually is the software problem to solve is to take the pain away. This is going to get so painful, the software is going to become like medicine. And the solution should be pretty clear, because when you're in pain, you know what medicine looks like. And that's kind of what we did. We became literally the most productive agent, literally number 1 or 2 on each one of these 7 teams. And we saw some really powerful business impact. We saw churn go down in these companies. Turns out if you respond to a customer more quickly, they like your business more. We saw that materialize in those companies. We saw agent attrition fall precipitously. In other words, customer service departments turn over at the highest rate. It's very expensive to staff a customer service department. But if you reduce the repetitive nature of that role, what you're left with is something that's much more intellectually stimulating. It's more fun. The problems and conversations you're having are more valuable for the business, for you personally as an agent, our colleagues. And it's better for the customer. And then the third thing we saw was that this data set we were sitting on, all these customer conversations were so valuable. There were product insights in here and sales opportunities and and strategic information. And it felt like this data should have been bubbled up to leadership, but instead it was siloed in this one department that no one really paid attention to. And so that was when we decided to start Ada. It was, wow, we've proven the value of this software manually. Let's now build the software. We took a machine learning approach because we had access to so much data, and then we focused on making the machine learning as easy to use as possible. And that was one of our core insights. Our philosophy became, how do we empower customer service agents to deliver a great experience that they've always wanted to deliver? They know what a great experience is, but they haven't been enabled with the technology to do it. We started with a basic web application that automated about 30% of customer service inquiries on the web. And we got a handful of customers who started to do that. And as we started to get improving our automation, we went from automating 30% to automating much more sophisticated types of questions. It got us to about 50%. Then we went further, and we went beyond automating just a basic answer to actually automating a complex action. We start to actually do things automatically for you. You actually process a payment, make a change to your account, upgrade something for you, all without you having to wait. All 24/7, in any language, in any channel. Started to become pretty magical. And we started to get to 75, 80%. And we grew into an enterprise software company. And now I still feel like, we're still in some ways, the very early innings of that same transformation. We're still focused on improving the quality of our automation. We're still focused on up-leveling the end user experience for everyone. And we're still learning new things about how to make this even better. Good question, yeah. So we were the agents ourselves. And our software we designed to replicate the same behavior we were engaging in as agents. So that's the connection to an agent. Today, we do not have any agent-facing software. We are purely an automation company. If you're familiar with the customer service like software stack, we sit as a layer on top of the existing products. And our opinion is that the value in the stack is going to accrue at the automation layer. And so in short, we sort of think, our view of the world is that 99% of all interactions between brands and people will be fully automated. The agent experience is going to look pretty different in the future than it does now. So we're just focused on we think the big problem to solve is the automation part. Yeah, totally fair question. So I think one of the ways we address that is our software is really we're kind of like Lego. So we give our brands like a Zoom, a bunch of Lego blocks, and we kind of much like Lego, we give you an instruction manual when you start, like you build your castle or your drawbridge or whatever. But because Lego is simple and easy to use, and it all kind of fits together. Pretty soon we notice our brands ditch the instruction manual and they start creating their own stuff. But in the same way that if you kind of mess up, building with Lego, you blame yourself because it's a creative tool. So they feel accountable to how they're doing it. That being said, there definitely have been times, there's lots of stories where someone built something unintentionally, and we really try to lean into the empowerment piece of it. And there's two sides of that, as you're picking up on. We did not have product market fit. There was no repeatability in the business. We were a B2C social mobile local app, and in an era where we were really focused on growth. I wouldn't say it was as hard a decision as I may have unintentionally framed it. We were struggling to really feel the pull of the market. That kind of actually brings up another lesson for me with DMZ too, is a woman named Vicki Saunders. Right. And she taught me something once where she said, I was really struggling with this hard problem. And she just said well, what if it wasn't hard? What if it was easy? And I think I'm probably quite similar to many of you where, I've grown up and sort of trained myself to thinking I need to do the hardest things. And what I've learned in the course of building Ada is that sometimes the actual easier path where you're feeling the pull is actually the right path. And I think that was the case for us in the early pivot. Sure, yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, I just think that anyone who, I think there's so much value in moving from B2C to B2B and vice versa, like crossing paradigms, I guess. Changing your customer puts you in a position where I think you can approach the value creation for the new customer with perhaps a novel perspective. And I think, frankly, there's a lot of luck for us. I have cut my teeth in B2C. I love building B2C products. I've never worked on anything B2B before building Ada. But I was very fortunate to, I became very frustrated with B2C, first of all, because the first thing I learned. As I started to I found it so challenging to learn what real feedback was in B2C. Because very few of my Cs were paying me. So I didn't know who to actually listen to. But I think more importantly, the deep focus on B2C has made David and I and our team just really maniacal about great customer experiences and great product experiences. And I think we were very fortunate to enter the B2B world when there was a premium on quality design and quality product experiences. Most enterprise software is not easy to use. And so if you approach it from a B2C perspective, it can really help. It certainly did for us. There's a lot of value created there. I think we all see that in this enterprise software we use today, right? It's so much easier to use than the previous generation of software. So I'd say that was the first thing. It's the takeaway is that it was an advantage entering B2B from a B2C background. The second thing I'd say I learned around B2B is around one way of building product. And I'm pretty religious about this. I believe that great products get people promoted. That's how I think about B2B software. It means when you are selling a B2B product, you are selling it to a real person in a real company who has a real job and a real set of KPIs and a real incentive to get promoted. And the extent to which you can understand the KPIs that help them progress in their career allows you to build better software. So great software really is like a career advancement engine, is one way to think about it. And if you're looking to dial in on how you improve the quality of your software, where you should be looking, in my opinion, is the KPIs of your key stakeholder who's going to buy your software. It's also a great way to understand what adjacencies you might enter when you become multi-product or you're trying to add new features. Just talk to the person who's actually buying it. I don't really think of it as a cost. I don't think we would have built Ada had it not been for Volley. I think it was a pretty good investment. Yeah. I think probably I just wouldn't take myself so seriously. I think I've wasted a lot of energy thinking that it kind of goes back to the hard work thing, just having this expectation that I knew what the path was meant to look like, and I think I wish earlier on I had let go of that and just been more excited about the path unfolding before me, not knowing what it would look like. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for the questions, guys. I'll hang on.